Moshe Kasher, our guest, he's a writer, he's a comedian, he's a top-notch comedian, and he was a bit of a feral kid, if I can say that, and both of his parents were deaf. Who could hear in your family? Like, there was a long line of people who had hearing problems.
Yeah, my brother could hear, and my grandma could hear, and that was pretty much it.
Pretty much it.
And so I learned to talk while watching television. People like you taught me how to talk. And then, of course, the teachers got a little concerned when I spoke like Angela Lansbury from Murder, She Wrote. They thought, where is this coming from? And so I had to get real.
Right, because your mom could speak.
Yes.
But albeit in a different voice.
Right. I mean, if whatever you're imagining, to the viewers, whatever you're imagining the deaf voice is what my mother sounded like. And so I spent my whole childhood being embarrassed of my mother's voice and ashamed of myself for being embarrassed of my own mother's voice. I mean, when deaf people talk and they have that voice, they are speaking. But the problem is when hearing ear meets deaf voice, hearing ear thinks it's being attacked by chimpanzees and it cannot distinguish the words. And so everything sounds to them just like a scream.
Sure, and as you know, parents who can hear and see and are supposedly physically normal embarrass their kids.
Oh, yeah.
Just by your actions, so you can imagine. And as a small boy. And what about your father? So tell me about that, when you go to visit Dad and the Hasidic group.
Well, yeah.
Was it like being on Mars for you?
100%. We didn't even really know until my father basically picked us up and drove us to the Hasidic Jewish barber shop and pushed us in front of an old man that would say, hey, where are your payas? You know, the payas are the dangly.
Yes.
I guess God is very into that for some reason. He's like, I don't get it myself. I created the whole universe, but I love a little curl. For some reason, I can't get over it. It's a beautiful little thing.
Right.
So then my dad would put a yarmulke on us and a dress shirt and drive us to the old country where we would shuck and jive and pretend to know what we were doing in this Hasidic community. It was a strange...
Amazing, because you are Jewish, but you had to almost act Jewish.
I had to act Yiddish, I guess.
Or Yiddish,
I guess. Another level of Jewish.
Another level of
yeah.
Judaism, because there you were trying to fit in and...
Yeah. Well, my dad lived in this place called Seagate, which here's how you get there. If you take the F train to the last stop in Brooklyn, you get off, you walk past Coney Island, past the projects, past the people of color, through a gate, through a time portal to pre-Nazi Europe. You will then arrive in Seagate, where people are still using horse-drawn buggy and spitting at redheads because they're bad luck. That's the level that we're living in. I mean, it's a joke mostly.
Yeah, I understand, but must have mystified you even then that your dad could marry your mother.
Yeah.
The freer thinker, hippie, didn't make the best lunches, the granola lunches,
right.
But, you know, and then fall in love with another deaf woman who was so orthodox.
Well, yeah. When we...
Or to go there.
Yeah, I think that when we left my father, the absence that was left from our disappearance, he filled that in with religious Judaism, which is a beautiful thing in one way, you know, that he filled it in with religion and spirituality. He married a woman who was from the highest levels, but she was deaf as well, and so usually a person like my father wouldn't have been allowed to marry into a family like that. But he was deaf, and he was a good guy, and that's what happened. And the problem is I was sort of lost in the middle of that too. You know,
Sure.
my family all speaks Yiddish as a first language, and I don't know Hebrew, so I would just kind of go ha 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 and hope that they knew.
It seems to me in Oakland, in North Oakland, you're trying to act black, and when you go to New York, you're trying to act Jewish, although you are, but you are a white boy. So you put it all together, and life's no joke for you.
No, unfortunately it's not. I found a way to turn it all into a joke, which is a nice thing, but yeah. I guess I was this sort of Yiddish hip-hop character, kind of Jackie Gleason meets Snoop Doggy Dogg or something like that.
So, when did the day come, or what day was it, or was it just one day when you thought gangsta rap is one thing and drugs are another thing and my life sucks, and I need to get out, I can get out now?
Well, I think that, like I said, every day was the last. A lot of people like to think of the bottom as an event. But it's not an event. For most people, it doesn't work that neatly. The bottom is a life stage, and I was in that bottom, being drugged along the bottom for weeks and weeks. And finally, one day, all of my friends were going. I remember we were sitting at this subway station, which is what we always did. Right. And they were all going up the street to go drink at this bar that they had found that would serve kids our age. I guess it was called Kiddies or something like that. And they said, we're going up the street. And I said, I can't go today, guys. I can't do it. And they all walked away to the right, and I turned the other way and walked alone, and I never looked back.
That's amazing. A sense of family with those boys, because as you know, you've been in so many rehabs, they say, now the one thing you have to do, aside from quit drinking or quit smoking, you have to leave your buddies.
That's
the
right.
buddies who are still doing that.
Well, that was the trope of every rehab I ever went to. You have to get rid of your playgrounds, playthings, and playmates. But the problem is all of those things were the only things that made my life tolerable. Right. So some stranger adult in rehab telling me to get rid of that, it was like, get real. But I finally did realize that if I didn't walk away, that nothing was ever going to change. And so I did. I mean,
and you got better, and you realized really how terrified you were, I bet. I'm thinking you must, like, when you're coming up against a big guy and you're in a fight, and you're being a tough guy, but you're not tough at all.
Right. Oh, yeah. There's a great part in the book of this kid, Miguel, who was about 6'7", 300 pounds, enormous kid. And one day he said something to me, and I said something smart back, and he's like, let's go outside then. And I was running outside before I realized, oh God, what am I doing here? And he was, bless his heart, he knew what he was up against. He didn't beat me up, he just sort of laid on top of me and collapsed on me, and I was just sort of underneath him, and he goes, you done? And I was like, I think I'm done, yes.
So hey kid, get up.
Yeah.
And get smart.
That's right.
So in your act, and you've done many.
Yes, indeed.
Do you use these stories? Do you mine your childhood and talk about your deaf mother and some of these incidences?
Yeah, sure. I talk about some of the stuff that happened in the book during my live show, but it's very jokey, and the book has a little bit more of a depth and heart to it. But the live show, for sure, I talk about some of that insanity.
And fodder for you today, comedy-wise, you pop up on Jimmy Fallon, you were on Conan O'Brien, you're being on NBC and some of the biggies.
Sure.
Where do you find the grit?
Where do I find my material?
Yeah.
Vancouver, Canada. Vancouver, Canada. Funniest place on earth.
It is. Yeah, and you'll be funny. I know you will.
Yes,
indeed. I know you will. Ever want to go back to the life of Joey Salente and Miguel and?
Oh no!
boys?
I mean, look at me now. I'm here on TV. You know. I mean, that's what a life will lead. You'll get on TV if you really screw up hard. You get to be on this show. You get to be on this show.
It's a guarantee.
Yes, indeed.
And write a book called Kasher and the Rye, and it's delightful. I love the cover.
Oh, thank you.
That's a good cover. Who did it?
My publisher did it, actually. Yeah, but it gives you all the information that you need.
Pretty much. It's the glasses. It's not. You don't look so fat there, but you certainly have like pills and glasses and a joint.
Well, I've slimmed down. Things are going very well in my life. In Hollywood, you have to kind of get rid of the excess fat.
Of course, but that's also part of it as a young child, and your message to children who feel they don't belong, be they gay, be they straight, be they fat.
Yeah, my secret hope has always been, I remember when I was a kid, I found copies of Catcher in the Rye and the Basketball Diaries, and I would sort of hide them underneath my pillow. And my strange hope is that this is the kind of book that kids will steal from the library and sneak off and read when their parents aren't watching and feel a little bit less alone.
A little bit less alone, and especially because you had the brother who's the straight A student.
Right.
The straight A student.
He was the perfect kid. He had a stronger chin than me, too. His jawline was very beautiful. It was very disconcerting.
I'm sure.
He wasn't chubby like me. Very awful kid. But, you know, later on he had his own trouble, so I got really happy when he started.
And his own troubles, you mean
yeah.
still alive?
Oh, he's still alive, yeah. He's a rabbi, actually, remember? So, yeah, he's out there. But yeah, it was a strange childhood and a hilarious childhood and just a ridiculous world that I lived in. I still do.
I know you do. I thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Kasher in the Rye, Moshe Kasher, and he's performing at the Comedy Mix on Burrard Street in Vancouver.